Well, for almost 2 years, stock market investors have been almost obsessed with artificial intelligence and its effect on the overall economy and how to profit from it in the stock market. Well, a report released by employment platform Indeed has found, perhaps counterintuitively, that far less than 1% of job listings mentioned generative AI. What's this telling us about AI and the labor force? Let's bring in an expert on the labor force. He's Brendon Bernard, senior economist at Indeed. Brendon, thanks a lot for joining us. You've published some interesting work here. You can describe it better than me, but you've searched job listings on Indeed. These are help wanted ads, to use an antiquated phrase, I guess, and very, very few of them are mentioning artificial intelligence. Why don't you tell us more?
That's right. So we know that Gen AI has captured the attention of investors around the world, and many people use Gen AI in their day-to-day tasks at their job. But what we see much less is employers explicitly mentioning experience with Gen AI or skills involved with it when they're recruiting new workers. So we track the share of job postings mentioning Gen AI related terms. It's pretty low. It's about 3 out of every 1,000 job postings mentioning the technology. Now, this is way less than the actual use of the technology, but it sort of highlights, I think, how to date, a lot of the adoption of Gen AI has been on kind of like more around the margins rather than sort of disrupting workflow to the point where like actual proficiency in the technology is a paramount for job seekers to have.
So what you found in simple terms is that very few employers are saying we need somebody who can work with AI. Is that a fair summary?
Or that have like explicit experience in that, or will actually be using AI as like a major component part of the job beyond kind of like the more surface level applications. So when we break out the mentions of Gen AI by job type, what we see is that Gen AI, the rise in Gen AI postings, it's happening among positions that are going to be developing the technology itself. So we have seen a substantial rise. It was basically zero, and it's been rising pretty steadily. And that increase has been driven by jobs in software development, machine learning engineering, mathematics, data science, things like that. Those are the power users of Gen AI. But what we really haven't seen is Gen AI make it into the explicit language of job postings and things like accounting or sales or administrative assistance. These are like white collar jobs across the economy where the potential application of Gen AI is huge, yet the explicit experience with the technology still doesn't rank particularly high among what employers are looking for in job seekers.
And I gather Canada is not an outlier here. You've got data from other countries as well. So often Canadians are inclined to believe we're a bit behind what may be happening in the United States or the UK. That I believe your work suggests that's not the case.
Yeah, among this measure, we see pretty similar shares in just how frequently Gen AI is mentioned in job postings across English language markets. US, UK, Australia, Canada looks right in line with those, maybe even an edge higher, though not significantly so. And I think we see a pretty similar pattern across these economies. It's really in sort of like the data science and tech type jobs where experience and an expectation that this is going to be a main part of your workflow is front and center when employers are looking to recruit. For these other types of jobs, like in business and finance and in administration, sales, accounting, we're still at pretty low levels. One trend, though, that's interesting to watch is sort of like I think this partially highlights how businesses are still figuring out how to really embed Gen AI into their overall workflows. It's one thing to sort of like have Gen AI help with constructing content, editing, things like that. It's another to sort of like reorient the main tasks of the business around the technology. And that's going to take time. And it also takes expertise. And so I wouldn't be surprised to see sort of like worlds of consulting for instance, be one of the key drivers that like helps spread the adoption of these technologies, because this is a story of technology and the diffusion of technology more broadly. When the internet came on the scene, when the computer came on the scene, and even going further before that with electricity and the automobile, there's the development of the technology, the familiarization, and then the diffusion. And the diffusion step is often when the most transformative like aspects of the technology really start impacting the economy. And I think these numbers highlight that on the diffusion side, we're still in the early stages.
Brendon, thank you as always for joining us. Brendon Bernard is senior economist at Indeed.